Hey listeners, last year was our 15th year of the best in food storytelling. As we head into 2025, we're kicking off a contest in collaboration with the podcast series Feast and Harmony and Sixth Man, where you have the opportunity to win a 4-night cruise for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, a food, wine, and spirits festival at sea. When you donate to HRN, you'll be entered for the chance to win a porthole cabin for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, sailing May 5th through 9th, 2025, from Miami to Cozumel, Mexico on Norwegian Gem. You'll also support another year of great food storytelling with a portion of your donation going toward disaster relief for the food and beverage communities within Western North Carolina and Southern California. This cruise is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for culinary adventurers, featuring top celebrity chefs including Jonathan Waxman, Antonio Lafaso, Robert Irvine, and many, many more. There's a myriad of experiences such as restaurant takeovers, live food and mixology demos, themed parties, and more. To enter your chance to win, please visit heritageradionetwork.org/cruise. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 or over to enter. That's heritageradionetwork.org/cruise.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. There's a reason when you think of Wisconsin, you think cheese. Cheese is a huge part of Wisconsin's history and future. In Wisconsin, the state of cheese, the tradition of cheese-making excellence began 180 years ago, before Wisconsin was recognized as a state. Immigrants traveled to settle in this lush green hills of Wisconsin, bringing their cheese-making traditions with them. These storied skills, combined with the freshest milk available, created a cheese-making culture that is uniquely Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 1,200 cheesemakers, many of whom are third and fourth generation, continue to pass on old world traditions while adopting modern innovations in cheese-making craftsmanship. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
Hey everyone, Greg Benson here, and if you're a regular listener of The Speakeasy, you probably know by now that I've been working to bring 100% pure, actually good-tasting agave nectar to the United States for a minute. But I wanted to give you a bit of an update. I actually got to travel to the farm where these amazing plants have been growing for decades, and it was just a genuinely moving experience. I got to see these agave in their natural habitat and see what it means to Rogelio, the farmer, to be able to care for the descendants of the same agave that his grandfather was growing almost a full century ago. That's why I'm proud to announce Quixote Imports, a new venture that's dedicated to preserving these agave and, yes, still bringing in the same fantastic, earthy, lightly fruity agave nectar that's going to make you wonder why you've been wasting your time with the crap at the grocery store. Plus, our fans here at the Speakeasy can get free shipping at checkout with promo code SPEAKEASY, so don't wait. Head on over to quixoteimports.com and see what agave nectar is actually supposed to taste like, and use promo code SPEAKEASY for free shipping. Salud.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil finds his groove in them rhythm and blues that sound. It's gonna get you sun in the air.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Damon Boelte.
I'm Sother Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson, and I know that usually I'm the one that rolls up to this show with a depressing headline to bum everybody out at the top of the week. But Damon, you actually scooped me this week. You had one that I wasn't aware of. What you got for us today?
Oh man, I'm surprised you didn't see it. But
yeah, how are you not aware of this?
I was writing a true crime podcast all morning, so my notifications were turned off.
All right.
I read about the disastrous speech last night, and I was like, that's enough news for me today. But yeah, you saw something that I think is of pertinent interest to us on the show.
And, we try not to talk about politics too much, but it's hard not to in our current state, right? So one, Justin Trudeau's speech was awesome. And I like how he addressed Trump as Donald. But the other news from Canada is that LCBO, which is the biggest buyer of alcohol in the world, apparently, and they are the mega distributor wholesaler in Canada, they pulled every American product off of their shelves and out of their catalogs all over Canada. And it's like over $1 billion industry annually. And so what does that mean? I mean, like, okay, you said it was bad news. I think it's great news.
I want to hear your take on this,
because it's like it's real-time proof of how stupid these tariffs are. Like for like not just the tariffs, but like how terrible this administration is already. Like weeks in. So it's just I love the backfiring of this. And it's like to think that you're like powerful enough to just like tell everyone around the world what to do. It's like, no, they can retaliate. And especially in the booze biz, like, so what does that mean? I mean, like, I saw an article that said that there's a website called thespiritsbusiness.com, and it's based out of the UK, and they had an article about a week ago or so, and was talking about how Canadian whiskey is going to start really becoming, because American whiskey has become so big in Canada, and they're talking about Canadian whiskey becoming more of a thing, like, of a national product, like kind of national pride product, of sorts. I think that's really cool. But also, it's going to force, red states to start thinking about things a little bit differently, and, one of those happens to be Kentucky. And so what does that mean for Canada? They're flexing really good and hard, and it's and I love it. Now, okay, so the bad thing for the United States, obviously, is the producers can't export to some of these countries that are going to start shutting it down, right? So that's going to make the industry in the United States and the lobbyists and everyone, like have to like really take a good hard look at themselves and the policies that are being implemented in this country. So, but what does that mean for the United States and I'm always the silver lining guy. What does it mean for us? It means it's probably going to be a lot easier to get Pappy Van Winkle.
Wow, you really went a ways around to get to that.
Well, we know who's sitting on a big supply of Blantons that he's just like waiting for liquidate that shit. You got to, if anyone out there was holding on to that, waiting for it to go to the moon, start selling off now, I guess.
Yeah,
exactly.
Wow, that's a long way around. Because, in the end, Warren Buffett recently said in an interview, trade wars are war. Like, this is not great. This is not good for us. It's not good for them. It's not good for anybody. And it only escalates. It doesn't reduce. I think the problems here, on the level of government is that we're picking fights with our closest friend and ally. We're picking a fight with Canada, which is, unnecessary. Like, we've been in great relations with them for decades. They're our number one purchaser. They're our literally closest, physically. We share a border, etc.
Largest unsecured border in the world for now.
Right. So everything's about to get tense and stupid for no fucking reason except for ego. And, I'm against it for those reasons, of course. But then, we all have friends. Don't forget, like, this is going to affect our pals, like Ryan Mabey with J. Rieger Kansas City whiskey, has been pulled off of every shelf, as you just said. And I'm curious, I saw the report too. They're pulling everything off shelf. Are they also destroying?
Yeah, I'm wondering where it's going. Are they just warehousing it for now? I don't know.
Shipping it back, who knows? I hope they're not doing what I said first.
Well, here's another thing.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I'm planning on being in New York 2 times or a lot. Basically, our good friend Robbie Nelson, he's getting married. I'm going to be at his wedding. But then Grand Army is turning 10 years old, beginning of May. So between those 2 weekends, I was going to road trip upstate and then go to Montreal and hang out, which I've never been to before. And now I'm wondering, I'm definitely not going to wear a cowboy hat like I usually do, but, like I'm wondering how I'll be received there.
Yeah. Get yourself a mountain.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. They're cowboys. They're cowboys in Canada. I don't know. I'm looking forward. Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, I don't know, if I'm not, I can't predict the future, but like if Donnie Boy blinks on this one, he's going to look like such a beta cuck, and that'll be satisfying. But also, I mean, just to step out of our realm for a hot second, dude's getting less and less popular.
He started right around the 50% approval mark. That's kind of a high water mark for him. And he's been losing about 1 percentage point a week since then. So, good.
There's that.
I say.
I hate to be a conspiracy theorist because I'm typically not, and then we should get off of politics and
Yeah,
get into whiskey.
exactly.
But
I certainly could use one right now after this conversation.
There are articles that you can search pretty easily. There are literally books about the topic that say that the wealthy typically hold on to wealth during good times on the market. The wealthy amass wealth during a recession. I hate to think that this is a planned opportunity by the sort of oligarchy that's taking over, because I'm sure you saw the Larry David theme song as they zoomed in on the stock ticker while he was announcing the tariffs, watching it fall. I'm sure you've seen all of the memes of reposting a 2012 tweet from Donald Trump himself saying if the stock market falls by 1,000 points within 2 days, the president should be impeached. It fell 1,300 points in 2 days with him. So people are reposting that about himself. But the wealthy get wealthier during a recession. Right. So I'd hate to think that this is a planned situation. That's my
anyway. I want to talk about hockey. I also, speaking of our friends to the north and their fine exports, I want to just quickly give a shout out to our good friends at Botanist, who I didn't know this. Apparently are the official gin of the New York Rangers. Now, I'm a fan of a slightly different flavor of hockey team, the Washington Capitals, who happen to be in New York City tonight. And I very shamelessly asked our good friends over there, hey, y'all got any tickets lying around? And it turns out they did. So I'm excited to watch some hockey. Cheer on Alex Ovechkin as he goes for the all-time goal-scoring record. He's 11 away right now.
Wow.
I may or may not have bought one of those giant number countdown things, and if I don't make it on ESPN tonight, so help me God. But just wanted to say thanks for the awesome gift, and that you should continue to drink Botanist. Lord knows I've been a booster of them long before they gave me free hockey tickets. I've been supporting them for many, many years with countless hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of their gin that has disappeared into my face. Love them. Good stuff.
Peanut butter and jelly, hockey and gin, I guess.
Yeah. I was a little surprised. I actually found this out because I was at just one of these food festival things, and I stopped by the Botanist booth because I love them, and that's where I found out they're the official gin of the New York Rangers. And they said, "Hey, do you want this commemorative hockey puck? Are you a fan of hockey?" And I said, "I am a fan of hockey, but I would not like that puck." And they said, "Oh, come on, take it." And I said, "I'm a Capitals fan. I'm worried that it will burn my hand if I touch it." And they said, "Okay, that's understandable."
Jeez.
So yeah, I'm gonna be one of the least popular people in Madison Square Garden tonight. Can't wait. It's gonna be great. If I don't make it back, and this is my last broadcast, I love you all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was a great run.
Yeah, talking about delicious whiskey from places that are questionably under the control of the English royal family. We have joining us live from New York City, but hailing originally from Northern Ireland. We've got Alex Thomas here. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Alex.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, delighted to be back seeing you all again.
Yeah, this is great. I'm so excited. You're one of my favorite people in the industry. I love it anytime I get to see you. And so it's great to have you as the sunshine that comes out of the end of that political conversation that we had that went on for maybe a little too long. So yes, welcome back. And it sounds like we might as well just jump right into it. You've been very busy, as you always are, but you have this big announcement, and we're pre-recording today so we can actually talk about it because it's going to happen. This will air on Friday, so we can actually talk about it now. But we won't leak anything ahead of time. But so tell us what you've been up to. Last time, I can't remember the last time I saw you because I haven't gone to Tales the last couple of years, and I just don't even. I've just seen what you've been doing. You're always so busy. Anyway, catch us up on what's going on.
Yeah, so the last time we saw each other, I was master blender of the Sexton. Still am, I'm delighted to say. But in November 2021, Bushmills Distillery deemed me worthy to be their master blender as well. So an absolute dream has come true to be the master blender for the oldest Irish single malt in the world. It's just, oldest licensed distillery. All that history and heritage has just been an absolute dream come true to be able to release some of the rarest and most beautiful whiskies over the last few years. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I have come the whole way to New York to announce something truly spectacular. So I'm delighted to be able to say that I am bringing out the oldest ever Irish single malt, a 46-year-old single malt, Secrets of the River Bush.
Wow.
So,
Secrets of the River Bush, 46-year-old Irish whiskey. That's incredible. And how does something like this come about? I mean, is this planned? Surely they didn't say 46 years ago, let's put this one up and we'll release it in 46 years. Like, is this just old stock that you're unearthing? And like, how did this get to, or soon to get to, our hands?
So this started way back in 1978 when basically the worst time in Irish whiskey in the last X number of years, where Irish whiskey went from world domination to almost annihilation. We went down to 2 distilleries, but we've always had owners and people that worked at the distillery that believed in this brand and knew it would grow again and would continue to lay down that liquid in the hope that it would start to pick up again. It did. 1983, we saw the 10-year-old come out and start the single malt category as it is today, followed by the 16, 21, 25, 30s, and it just keeps coming. But there's something really unique and special about these 2 casks that have been left just to continue to gain that flavour. In Warehouse 8, the oldest traditional warehouse on site, they have laid beside each other, watching all of that change over the last 46 years. They saw the village around it grow. They saw the river bush continue to flow through the distillery itself and kept its secrets and how it's made. But these wonderful casks have been made by the Antonio Paez Zabata family, and we've been working with them for over 7 decades. And they just are everything about quality, the same as Bushmills. So to find these unique special casks that we could say could stay a lot longer than the normal was just really exciting. I joined the team 20 years ago in 2004. Who knew where these casks were going to end up then? They could have very easily ended up as a 21-year-old, but they're just so special. The flavour profile, the quality of the casks allowed us to be able to say that we have a 46-year-old at 46.3%. So we kept as much of the liquid in there as possible, but it has been breathing in and out. All that wonderful climate, all of the different things that have happened in Ireland have been happening during the transition of this cask, and it told me it was ready. I've had the delight of watching over it as master blender the last few years, and I just knew it was coming of age. It was time to let everybody else enjoy it. I shouldn't be the only one.
Wow.
Right. Well, we appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, I want to hear what was it. What was it telling you? Like, how did you know? Like, what was going through your mind when you walked in and, approached that barrel and kind of thought like, yeah, today's the day? Like, how did you reach that decision?
It's when that harmony of our distillate, the Oloroso sherry and the European oak has got as good as it can be. So none of them are overpowering each other. So you can get that beautiful apricot, that beautiful sweetness that we would expect from our distillate. The Oloroso sherry, all those lovely dark fruits is in there. And that European oak has just brought in that lovely nutty character. And the colour is phenomenal. That deep mahogany. I've never seen anything like it before. It has just really given everything it could give. This cask has really done the best it possibly could do. And it has said, time to share. So who am I? I have to listen.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they hired you, right? So let's talk a little bit about how, I guess you're saying it spoke to you and it said, now's the time. But is there anything, so we've done the 10, the 20, all the other years. So is this the end of this massive hold of whiskey that was made back in 1978?
This is the last 2 casks of this type Oloroso sherry, yeah. So they're very, very special, very, very unique. Say there was such a small quantity left in both of them.
That was my next question. How many bottles yield from 2 casks?
Only 300 bottles.
Wow. So minus the 3 that we're getting, so that's 297 bottles.
Yeah, 297. That's great. Keep going. Yeah, they're just so special. To spend that length of time beside each other, they are sisters and have been gaining that flavour together. They have done it all of their lives together, so it just didn't seem fair to split them. So
twins.
Both of them had matured. Yeah, twins. How could you split?
I know how that is. Yeah. I'm a twin. I get it.
That's it. So by able to marry them together just ahead of bottling allowed us to have 300 bottles. So there are 300 lucky people who are going to get to own these and hopefully share them with a whole lot more than 300. So
Yeah, I hope so
everybody
too.
gets to taste it. It's phenomenal. At no point would you say it's been overaged. It's just a complete union of marriage of flavors there. It's just so vibrant on the nose, the palate, just the taste that lingers, that sweetness, that lovely fruitiness is there, that ripe dark cherries, the apricots. Oh, it's almost, my mouth's watering even talking about it.
Yeah, you seem quite excited as well. I mean, talk to us a little bit more on the emotional level. How did you feel? You grew up not far from the distillery, so this was like kind of in your sight all your life. And then, of course, being there and working for the past 20 years. And then I assume, at least occasionally, walking past these two barrels. Like, what's the sort of, and then finally getting to the level where you were allowed to taste it and be part of its maturation. Like, what's the sort of emotional side of all this for you?
I'm honestly honoured. I feel so lucky to have been able to work with some of the people that have actually laid this whiskey down. Some of the team that distilled it, put it into warehouses, have been looking after it. We have the third and fourth generation coopers that I've had the privilege to work with. So their father and grandfather actually touched these casks. They cared for these casks. So I do feel that I'm very lucky to be the master blender that gets to release it, but I'm doing it on behalf of all of the generations that have made this possible. We're a family at Bushmills, and we're very excited to be able to say that we have cared for and been able to produce a 46-year-old. It was never the intention to set out, but innovation is at our heart, that dedicated pursuit of perfection. So we always want to see what else a cask can give, and this can't give much more. It just is a real honour to be able to say that we're releasing the 46, but to say that the Bushmills distillery is releasing the oldest Irish single malt ever, that is a huge thing for us. Bushmills deserves that accreditation. It has been there through world wars, prohibition, all of the different challenges, but at each stage it stood its ground. It stayed true to the grain, that 100% malted barley. And the River Bush has been there for us all of that journey. It's where the distillery got its name from and has flown through the distillery all of its life, and has been there giving that lovely minerality into our flavour. And for me, it's always that little bit of a nudge too in the fact that it's the same basalt rock as the Giant's Causeway. And for me, that story of Finn McCool and Ben O'Donnell and how he fought for his island. We're fighting for the Irish category. We want its title back. It was the number one of the world. All of those different challenges took that away from it, but we're ready for that back again, and the 46-year-old is proof of that.
Yeah, incredible. What then happens to these two casks? Will they be reused for anything, or are they spent at this point?
They are exhausted. They will be laid to rest. They have worked hard enough now. They're very special. So we will use them for something, whether it's turned into part of a display cabinet or something at the distillery. Yeah, they deserve pieces. To be something. Yeah, definitely. So you never know where they'll end up, but I definitely, if you come to the distillery, be guaranteed I'll point them out.
Yeah, for sure.
They need a new home.
To me, I've always said like the way that I've explained the blending versus distillation is science and blending is soul. So there's it's something you can't be taught. It's something you have to learn on the job, and it's something you have to have passion for, and it comes with experience. And so what's a day for you, like walking through and doing tastings? Are you going into the warehouse where the barrels are? Are you hanging out in the lab? Are you doing a little bit of both? And how do you know? I mean, it's just an intuition of like when something's ready.
Every day starts the same way for me. I have the pleasure when first thing in the morning, you have a clean palate, straight to the warehouses, the dew's on the ground, you open the doors of the warehouse and those lovely aromas come out. So I'm selecting the cask that I'm going to taste that day, take them over to the lab. I could be later on in the afternoon organising a trip over to get the new cask profiles with Oloroso sherry. I'm down in the disgorging area where the casks are being freed from their encasement. That liquid's flowing free. So no 2 days are the same, and that's the exciting thing as a master blender. It's that unknown, but the excitement that comes from that unknown, I have been very lucky to have had that knowledge passed on from master blender from the previous to me and the one before that. I get the privilege of working alongside Colin Megan, our master distiller, who has been my mentor as well. So a lot of it, I feel I have been taught, but part of it is within you as well. I think I grew up with Irish whiskey. I remember my grandfather, my father, my uncle, all drinking Bushmills. And my grandfather always said that Irish whiskey, hot or a hot toddy, cured all ails, and he always drank Bushmills. So I always had that magical myth about what was so magical about this liquid. How could it cure? But it's true, when you taste these wonderful liquids and you know that flavor profile is right, you then just know that you're going to make a fantastic whiskey. But it's down to having great quality casks, great quality seasoning, and never steering away from that, and having that distillate that has stayed true to Bushmills history for over 400 years. We're still distilling today how we distilled in the past. New equipment has come in, but the traditional methods are still there.
Cool. You know,
well, talk to us about those. Like, I definitely want to get a little virtual tour of the Bushmills distillery and kind of what your it makes me very happy to hear the enthusiasm in your voice, because you've been doing this now for over 20 years. And this podcast is the longest I've ever done a single project, which is stunning to me. So, you know, I love the idea that, like, you know, you have, after multiple decades, you sound just as excited to get up and do this as you were on your first day. So just kind of run me through, like, what the methods that you're talking about are.
There's just something magical about the distillery. When you arrive at those big black gates and you see those white buildings in front of you and you walk towards them, you see number 2 warehouse that's still standing, survived the fire, oldest building on the site, and you go into the still house. Those aromas of that lovely barley, you watch the water flow into the lauter tun along with the barley, and the process starts. And it looks like you're making porridge almost, and you're thinking, what? But as that liquid is drawn off and goes up the stairs into the fermentation vessel, and the yeast is added, and you start to produce, you see the yeast feeding in through the window, and it's just so exciting to see that transformation, that sugar being eaten away like a little Pac-Man, and all of a sudden from there, you're going down the stairs, the heat hits you as you open the doors going down into the still house, and those aromas, that sweet, fruity flavor just fills the air. You walk down towards the stills and you watch the distiller standing there listening to the stills. We have that equipment that's there that helps make those judgments of when the heart should be cut, the tail removed, the head taken away. But he knows by the noise of that still, or she knows by the noise of that still, when the heat needs to be added, when the heat needs to be turned down. And that can't be taught by anybody else but those that came before. So it's those secrets of Bushmills that carry Bushmills forward each time and keep that consistency there. And from there, you walk along the pipework that carries the spirit over to where the filling line is, and you watch that clear liquid fill into those casks, where it's bourbon, sherry, port, whatever they happen to be. And then patience. And something in life I have none of. For some reason, there's something worth waiting on with whiskey. I spent many, many hours talking to the team when I started there, who had 20, 30, 40 years, and all they wanted to do was tell me the stories, the history of Bushmills, all of the changes that had happened, but how that they stay traditional in what we do, and the craftsmanship that goes into every stage. You couldn't help but fall in love with the place. I don't know if it's the angel share that seeps into us all, or what exactly ignites that fire, but there's something. No matter who you talk to in Bushmills, whether it's the security guard, the tour guide, the distiller, the maturation operatives, the guys in the warehouse, the bottling hall, wherever it is, they feel as if they own this brand. They give 110% in everything they do. And I firmly believe that's why Bushmills is still here. They stay true to tradition, they stay true to the grain, and their people love what they do. And they cannot wait to shout about all of the different whiskies that they have. And I'm very proud to be here on behalf of all of them today to say we have now really got an accolade there that we can stand up and say, yeah, we are the oldest and we have the oldest whiskey out there now. So yeah, it really is fantastic to see how things have changed over the years, but we've stayed true. We built a new distillery during COVID in 18 months, which was phenomenal. we produced the same liquid there as we do in the other distillery because we had all of that knowledge from before to create that whiskey. But it shows the passion of the Bushmills people when we had one of our security guards in his 70s asking could he come out of retirement so he could drive the bus to take the contractors from the main security gate down to the construction site so he could be part of the next legacy
That's
of
amazing.
Bushmills. Where do you get that?
Right.
You know, that's
it's infectious.
I love hearing stories like this, you know, these tales, because it's almost like it's very much like a family thing, right? You feel like you're related to those people who worked, you know, at the distillery 400 years ago, you know, because it's to me, it's more like it is like an inheritance and also an apprenticeship at the same time, you know, because like you have to learn from another person. There's no, I mean, it's very, very hands-on. It's very right here, you know, and I just love this. I have to say, I have a story about Bushmills. Bushmills was my first Irish whiskey.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and so I've had a certain soft place in my heart and my soul for Bushmills. And I was 19 years old, and
that's the legal drinking age in Lone Wolf, Oklahoma.
No, I wasn't in Lone Wolf. I was in Oklahoma City. And my twin brother and I went down to Dallas, Texas with a friend of ours who was of age, and that's how we got the Bushmills. And we went to a punk show. It was the Dropkick Murphys and Rancid.
Nice.
And we crushed a whole bottle of Bushmills in the parking lot before going into the show. And it was the greatest concert ever. It was this kind of
Bushmills and the Speakeasy would like to remind you to drink responsibly.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it was this like Irish punk band from Boston, you know, and we're drinking this Irish whiskey. And like, ever since then, I was just like, it reminded, like, every time, it doesn't matter which expression, it always takes me back there. But what I like about this, I have to say, is then it was like, you know, just the regular Bushmills, you know, and which is great, fantastic, super classic. But what I like is that the story of this whiskey has matured with me over those years, you know, because now it's like, you know, that was a punk show then. If I had the 46-year-old single malt, I feel like I'm at a jazz show, you know, or something, you know.
Sure.
It's like we've matured together.
You both matured together. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can't say that for my twin brother. I think he's still back there, but you know.
But the Bushmills wings, there's one there for everybody now at all ages. So continue to enjoy it.
Yeah, but you know, that's the thing. It's like, you know, for me, I feel your passion and enthusiasm for it because it's been a constant in my life for all those years. And it's kind of, you know, when like the first bourbon or the first gin or the first good bourbon, first good gin. Let's clarify that, because a lot of people have really crappy gin or really crappy tequila, their first one. But the first time you have something, you know, that just kind of like gives you the light bulb aha moment of like, oh, this is the standard by which I'm going to judge this by. You know, like for beer, for like Hefeweizen, I always go with Weinstefaner because it's the oldest brewery in the world, and they make a great Hefeweizen. They've been around for almost 1,000 years now. So every Hefeweizen I try, I compare it to Weinstefaner. And, you know, and then like, you know, I could go on with like Bordeaux and Burgundy and Champagne, you know, like for the first good one that I had, you know, and then, but so to me, it's like, I'm always putting Bushmills up against other Irish whiskeys. And I have to say that, like, you know, to me, when you're feeling very passionate, when you have that memory and even a sense memory, like I remember the way it smelled the first time, you know, the olfactory memory was there. But like, to me, it's always about the experience. It's a big part of it, right? And you know, the way you talk about this is like, in your experience with it, is like it's just infectious. It's like and every time I get to see you, it's like you're always like so powerfully enthusiastic about it. So this is great, and I can't wait to try this one, you guys.
Yeah.
um,
Like I
You're gonna get
absolutely
a
love what I
thimble
do,
full.
and I remember when I was a kid, my father and mum telling me that if I found a job that I loved, I would never work a day in my life. And I don't feel like I go to work every day.
right.
I feel like you say I'm visiting family, I am visiting friends. I spend quality time with them and with whiskey that's transforming every single day into something new and exciting. I get the privilege of continuing to inspire people in the Irish category and try and inspire the new ones to come in by creating these new variants of what we can have. The opportunity is there to make Irish whiskey great again. And if I can play a part in that, like, what an honor. My grandfather will be very proud of all of those stories he told me about Irish whiskey. And if he was here today and seeing what we are releasing out of Bushmills, he would be a very happy
Yeah.
man.
Well, why don't
Yeah.
you talk to us about that?
Well-
Because we before the show we were kind of talking just quickly about the category of Irish whiskey in the United States, and I imagine globally to some extent, right? I mean, it's a burgeoning category that, with and I said before the show, like the Dead Rabbit had a lot to do with Irish whiskey in New York City, and I think in the United States, really. But there's also, when we talk about tradition and we talk about 400 years of heritage, we're not talking about cocktails back then, but now typically the way we get consumers and people who are enthusiasts and interested in it, the way we get them to try new products or something that's even old that they haven't really gotten a chance to really dig into and understand, is through cocktails. So, like if say, like, especially with Sother having a bar that's all bitters, and no citrus, it's like there's a lot of hand holding and kind of like evangelism that comes along with that. But a great segue into that is to have a cocktail and then be like, oh, and you should try this on its own too. So I think that, like, with the Irish whiskey thing in the United States, it was like always kind of served neat or as a shot, maybe an Irish whiskey, Irish coffee. But then nowadays it's like you get to see all these great cocktails that have Irish whiskey, and then it's like, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to have this 46-year-old single malt in a cocktail. No, we're not going to do that. But you know what I mean. So, what's your opinion on like the market and how things have kind of like? I mean, it feels like the last decade that Irish whiskey is like. I look at the back bars now, and I'm like, it's incredible to see like all the new labels and just like
Growth,
and verticals of like different age statements. So can you tell us a little bit about that and like what are you excited about that? I mean, it's got to be, right?
Yeah, like I say, 1978, 2 distilleries. Now 2025, I think the last count there was over 50, which is fantastic. We are a small island, but there is enough for everybody to go around. I want to inspire and continue to support those new distilleries that's there, because if you're talking about one, you're talking about us all. And the only thing we ever asked is, even through your training, is when we start something new, that we create it the best we possibly can do. We don't want to harm the category again. But all of that different opportunity there now for people to drink whiskey their way is exactly what we always wanted. So the traditional way is there for those that want it, but you can find your own path to whiskey. So you may be a beer drinker or a wine drinker, so you find maybe the 40% alcohol is where you have the issue. So by bringing something else into that to bring the ABV down is a great starting point. But cocktails, I just absolutely love. They have revival has been there almost in the same side as the Irish category has grown. And it really has given people the opportunity to try really great whiskey in a different way, but by holding on to the original flavor profile. So if that happens to be a Black Bush, for example, you'll still taste the Black Bush there, but it will be married with something completely different to offer a different experience. And that can educate your palate to come back to drink a whiskey neat. And that's part of the journey. Our palates change. What you liked 10 years ago, you maybe don't like now, or you maybe try something new. The first time you've tried a whiskey, it could have been because of the spicy food that you ate before, or the coffee that you had that changed your palate. So I always say, go back, try it again, try it a different way. There is the right one there for you. And if there's not, I promise I'll create it for you.
That's so funny because, like, I remember, the first When I first launched into the stratosphere as a D-list celebrity in the food and beverage world in like 2018 or so, I think is like when I was like running the Jeffrey. It was the first time someone asked me to like do an interview, and I was like, oh, me? What? You want to hear?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll talk into a microphone about my thoughts for 45 minutes. Absolutely. But they asked me, they're like, what's your hot take as a bartender? And I was like, I think whiskey's kind of boring. And now, 7 years later, I'm like, that's the category that I'm really diving into the most. And so it like you said, it's cool. Your palate does change and your palate does evolve. And you also mentioned something in there that I think was interesting about not harming the category again. And I love just I'm struck by the poeticness of this release, and that it was born out of a really, really tough time for this distillery, this period where it was a necessity at first because it was a product that you were unable to move during a time of near extinction for the category. And now, the marble has turned, and almost 50 years later, you've got something that sounds really, really special on your hands.
Yeah, it's really an honor to be able to say that Bushmills has stood the test of time. It has been there through so many challenges, but the belief has always been there in that what we're doing is fantastic, and we just need to continue to work hard, and we will have our day in the sun. And here we are with wonderful brands out there, from our Bushmills original right through. Our core range has grown over the last number of years to include premium whiskies like 25, 30. But yeah, to be able to have a 46-year-old there and know that we have been giving it the care it's needed to keep as much of that liquid in the cask as possible. We have a climate there in Ireland that is predominantly quite wet. So having those quality casks, we're letting a little bit of that moisture in with the oxygen, but not too much, so that we can keep up there. Like, how disappointing would it have been if this cask was 46 years and 39%? We ain't got a whiskey. So
Right.
It really is. It's that care and dedication of the Bushmills team that just makes it so special. So to be able to say that those that put their hand on this liquid 46 years ago, we have cared for it, we have nurtured it, and we have ensured that your vision for it has went way beyond what you thought it possibly could be.
Sure. I mean, the expectation when that whiskey was being laid down into the barrel wasn't necessarily that it was going to sit for that long, right?
No, it could have been in a blend very much younger age. It's
Sure.
sisters and brothers that would have been filled at the same time have went on at a much younger age to fulfill their destiny. These were meant to be. These were meant to wait and see. And that's the exciting thing for me. I've taken on the mantle from someone that came before. They laid down liquid that I get the privilege of releasing, and I will lay liquid down now and with column that will be for the future again, that we may never get to taste.
Right.
But there's
Sure,
something
so
exciting about that. Like, no matter where we are, we know there's a little bit of Bushmills history patiently waiting for
Right, it's a
someone to
little
be releasing.
There's an old saying about dates, right? That a date tree takes 80 years to produce fruit. So you don't plant a date tree expecting to eat dates.
Exactly.
Right? They're for the next generation.
They are indeed, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your experience there at the distillery. And like, I assume that you had to sort of like shadow or closely trail or apprentice basically with your predecessor. And does that mean that you now are sort of picking someone to take up after you? Like, you're like the training in this sort of family dynamic that you've described, it seems to me that the training has to be ongoing and forever.
And
right?
can I be that person?
It is. Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely is. It is something that when you start off at the distillery, like, I didn't know that this was my destiny. The people there saw it in me before I knew myself. So I feel I am the lucky one that has been chosen by those that deem me worthy. So to be able to work alongside Helen Mulholland, our previous master blender, Colin Megan, the team at Bushmills as a whole, the Coopers, the warehouse team, the bottling team, to learn as much as I possibly could. So yes, I am absolutely willing to pass that forward now to the next generation. I hope I get to stay for a good little bit of time yet, but at some point, yeah, I get to pass that mantle over, tell the secrets that I got passed on to me. And yeah, I hope they enjoy the job as much as I do and get some of the most fantastic experiences that, life is drawn for you from a child, but I never ever dreamt that I would get to be in the position I am today, sitting here talking to you guys about a 46-year-old whiskey. It has been a fun journey, an exciting journey, and it's not over yet.
No, I wasn't implying that at all.
Oh, no, I know.
I just assume that
dare
the process has to be constant and ongoing for that predecessor and then that successor, because as you said about it parallels to the barrels, frankly. Like, as you said, those barrels didn't know what their destiny was. It had to unfold in front of them. And so you didn't know that your destiny was to land in this position. That means that there's someone on property probably right now who will one day be in your position.
That security guard,
how does that could be how does that even happen? Like you said, you didn't know that this was your destiny. How did you get corralled down the right trail and tapped on the shoulder to be like, let's bring you up and then let's form you into this?
The Bushmills style is to nurture and care for all of the employees and to give them opportunities that they can build in their own confidence, in their own skills. So everyone that comes gets that opportunity. So there are ones now coming along, taking those opportunities that I was very happy to take as well. So they're developing their skills. They're working alongside us that are already there, and they're doing all of the different qualifications that are available within the industry to be able to learn a lot more about the process. We are very lucky at Bushmills to be a grain to glass, so we see all of the processes there. We also work very closely with the maltsters, so we can go and visit them, learn how that process actually works as well. So having all of that skill and that knowledge helps the next generation make those right path decisions on where they want the path to go. Some may not want to go on to be a master blender, but they may want to go on to a different path, and that each one of them gets those opportunities. And we're always looking out for who could take over on our position. So that level of skill, that level of teaching that's there is something that's really important to ensure that that person that gets picked has all of those skills that's there, and they come on board long before the next myself passes on the mantle to them, so that they get that opportunity to work side by side.
Right, so there's continuity, so that it can, you can continue on with the process of making this delicious whiskey, repetitively delicious over and over throughout time.
Exactly.
Pretty incredible. Like, I don't think that we have. I mean, being the oldest licensed whiskey distillery in the world, I don't think that there's literally any place else that could speak to such a legacy, right?
Yeah, it's nice to see the new ones coming, but we have such a history there. The building itself could tell so many stories, and having that craftsmanship and that dedication to staying true no matter the path. It was expensive in 1850 to start making it and continuing doing it our way, but there's a belief in that, and it stands the test of time that we're still here after all of those challenges. So I think it's one of those things to believe in the category and continue it to grow. We will be back up there, and that title will be back with the Irish category again.
Nice. And you're calling into the show today. You're in New York City, right?
I am indeed. I am here for a whistle-top tour, so 3 days to here to tell the story. So really excited to be back in New York, and it's where my journey as a master blender began in 2017. So really, really nice to be back today with Bushmills.
Wait, talk a little bit about that. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, so my career started in 2004 with Bushmills. I fell in love with the industry, got the opportunity to do the qualifications, and Independence Day 2012 qualified to go on then to be a blender or distiller. Was given the opportunity to experiment and see where I thought the industry should go. And through that experimentation, I created the Sexton Irish Single Malt, brought it to New York for its first reveal to the world in November 2017. And as a new blender, very scary coming out and telling people, this is what I've created, please like it. But I have to say, I will never be more grateful than the American market. They took the Sexton on board. They loved it. It became the #1 Irish single malt in America in less than a year. The cocktail industry embraced it. And on the back of that work, I was deemed worthy to be master blender for Bushmills. So no longer the Sexton is an only child. It's got brothers and sisters in the Bushmills family. So yeah, really excited to be back now, to be the master blender for both of these wonderful whiskies. Something that's new and a brand that's been around for such a long historic time is just a true honor.
So I want to get a little dorky about the single malt category here, because I it's a tricky thing to explain to people what a single malt is. The best way I've ever come up with explaining it to a layperson is that think of it like the word microwave oven. Like we call this, the full name of this device is a microwave oven, but we don't really say the word oven, we say microwave, even though a microwave is an invisible part of the light spectrum, and an oven is a thing that actually cooks food, which is what your microwave does. Like single malt is the same way. It's the product of a single malt distillery. We just don't say the distillery in the name. That can be a bit tough to educate people on.
Yeah.
And that's not even getting to the meat of my question, which is about single pot still distilling. So I guess I want to know, you're talking a lot about, really restoring Irish whiskey to its former glory. And that's a quest that I am all about. We're big Muga heads here, make Irish whiskey great again. And we are, that one really hit Sother in the funny bone there. Oh man,
buddy
is cracking up over there. Anyhow, is the single malt sort of a way to use a term that most consumers of this product would already be familiar with, and then sort of use that as like, well, if you're into this, try this other very kind of like very Irish way of making whiskey. Sort of, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that.
At Bushmills, we are absolutely 100% single malt. So it's a single malt, single distillery, way of making it, pot stills, all of the different variations that's there. But I am quite happy for the category to grow with whatever the ratios are there. Many of them do use the green barley and cut the single malt with the green barley and create wonderful whiskies. It's just not our way. But that doesn't mean to say that it isn't helping the category. The taste profiles are there for everybody to enjoy their way. But for us, it really is that quality that comes through using that malted barley that we do, the way we do, and the process that we make that makes it that sweet character that Bushmills' DNA is made of. So for us, that's what we want to continue to inspire. We haven't got variations of that there. We have crystal malt that we've used before, which again is a similar process in the distillation that we use. It's just a different drying process that the crystal malt goes through. So it's a personal journey for people, I suppose, for whiskey, but for us, it's all about the single malt. It's that category that we want to grow. We want that traditional way that happened before all of those taxes, before all of those things. Everybody was making it that way. It's expensive to do it that way, but there's a reason. It produces the best single malt and the best flavored whiskey, I believe, that you can have. So yeah, that's for me the most important part from the Bushmills story, but absolutely embrace any of the other distilleries that are doing it a different way. It's all helping the Irish voice get heard again.
Yeah, the high tide raises all the boats, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, while you're here in New York on this whistle stop tour, what spots are you hitting?
So in New York, so I am for the Cream Club this evening.
Okay.
Where we're going to do our official launch, and I have obviously been with yourselves, and I didn't do anything on the Monday because I just arrived in. So yesterday, meeting up with a few media to get the stories out there for the new release for Bushmills. So it literally is tonight, on the plane tomorrow, heading off to LA. Then I am for Chicago and finishing off in Miami.
Oh wow, that's
wow.
Circling the country in a circuitous route.
I will be back in Ireland again on early Tuesday mornings. I'm back in making whiskey.
Wow. Well, it's exciting stuff, and I like that we're getting sort of an NDA style scoop. We get to have this information and hold on to it until we can talk about it, and then the show comes out on Friday. People are going to be stoked to hear about this, and your attitude of excitement is always infectious every time you've been on the show before, and I think people are going to really clamor to get a hold of these 300 bottles. Now I have to ask the sort of big reveal question: what does that mean? Only such a small amount that each of these bottles is going to retail for.
Off the top of my head,
asking for a friend.
I believe it's $12,500. So it is a lot of money, but in comparison to some other
over here.
It has spent an awful time, like 2% per annum to the lovely angels is a lot of to lose over those years. It does slow down as the cask grows in age, but it's still a lot of liquid, so it's a very precious amount that's there. But in the scheme
plus
of
the care
things,
and the oversight that you had to put into this, and these, it wasn't that they weren't just sitting out in the back, weeds growing
exactly.
around them and rain on them. They were cared for, looked after, tasted,
Yeah.
tested. Like there's money, time, and experience that went
Yeah.
into these barrels, right? So
If you are one of the lucky ones that gets to taste it, but it will not disappoint. I promise you that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm jealous of the lucky few who will get.
We could probably,
I know.
three of us could split a 50 mil.
Yeah.
I feel quite excited that I get to taste it here in New York, and then I go to LA, and then I go to Chicago, and then
It's great.
Yeah,
best job ever.
The perks of the job.
Well, I asked a really esoteric question about different Irish whiskey styles, and now I want to ask a really stupid question here at the end of the show. If this barrel, how could you watch it being moved from one place to another? I think my anxiety is such that, like, when I finally moved this, there would be so much of like easy, careful, that I would have an aneurysm and die. Like, what was that like for you? Were you just like, is it like when I get blood drawn where I'm like, do what you got to do, I just can't look at it? Like, how was that?
There's a little bit of that in there, but yeah, look, it was in good hands. The team at Bushmills have been nurturing cask for many years. The coopers that we have there, Alistair and Chris, were there on hand. If anything happened to go wrong, they were there straight to save it. But no, the cask has held its own. It has been the most fantastic quality cask Antonio Paez could give us. So we had faith in the wood would hold together to get it out of there. And I'm glad to say it did. It made it safely down to the storage and just get the two of them married together. But yeah, a little bit of sigh of relief there when they were down safe and the liquid was out.
Once we've captured all that liquid.
Did you get every last drop out of there?
Yeah.
Get the rubber spatula. Make sure if there's a little bit of liquid hiding at the back, make sure
maybe
you get
a straw. See if we can get the last drop out.
Yeah, that's better. Even better. Well, Alex, it's been awesome having you on the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of what sounds like a very busy schedule for the next week to chat with us and helping us break some news here. This is really cool, and it's a great story, and honored to be a small part of it here.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I say my journey started with whiskey, and here I am today back with you again. So I'm absolutely delighted to be able to share the wonderful news with you. So thank you.
Awesome.
Pretty incredible for us to be able to hear it first.
Yeah.
And keep our lips shut until Friday.
Yeah.
I won't tell anyone. I'll drink a lot of gin at the hockey game just to kind of like suppress the Irish whiskey cortex of my brain. Well, that is going to do it for us this week on the Speakeasy. Alex, you got any pluggables you want to plug?
Keep drinking great Bushmills whiskey.
Awesome. Any Instagram accounts or anything where people can follow along on this journey?
Yep, Bushmills Sexton Alex, give me a shout, or the Bushmills US accounts. There's loads of them out there, so find one of us and we'll just tell our story. But yeah, feel free to follow me. I'm more than happy. If you have a question about Bushmills or Irish whiskey, I'm there for you.
Incredible.
Awesome. Well, that is it for us this week on The Speakeasy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to check out Heritage Radio Network for more great shows just like this one. And if you want more of this great show, just like this one, you can become a regular on our Patreon page, where you are going to get bonus episodes, video content, cocktail recipes from all of our guests, and a free cocktail kit from our good friends at Shaker and Spoon every single month. I also want to do a little plug that After Dark Confessions is back in Brooklyn next week, Thursday the 13th, at our OG home of Someday Bar. It's going to be me and Reina No Buena. So if you want to hear me read out loud the filthiest thing you've ever done to a bar of strangers, anonymously, of course, this is your chance. Come on by if you're in the neighborhood. And be sure to tune in next week when our guest is going to be Alba Huerta from Julep in Houston.
Amazing.
Yeah, going to be hearing about that. And I'm actually headed to Houston in about a month, so I'm excited to get a little sneak preview in there. But for now, that is going to do it for us this week on the show. Till next time, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, team.
Lancha.
Lancha.
So you don't shun the devil with your
The Speakeasy is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food and drink radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.